What did you make yesterday of some of the reactions to Oregon's Penn State win?
A lot of rat poison out there, man. A lot of rat poison. Number one team, number one quarterback, Heisman favorite, odds-on favorite to win the national title. It only took a month, man. We're not even in October yet. Can you calm down a little bit? Can we not fan the flames? Everybody take a deep breath. I maintain, thank God they got a bye this week. I know they bounced back from the Ohio State win playing Purdue last year on a short week, so maybe they could do it. But flying all the way back from Penn State, getting home, what did Dusty say yesterday? At 6 a.m. on Sunday morning.
6 a.m., yeah.
Like, thank God they got it. Like, everybody just go put your feet up for a couple of days, and then we'll go get ready for Indiana next week.
I'm kind of shocked that it's. I understand why you've gotten here, but I am surprised when I hear you talk about the rat poison and the whole, I don't like it. You used to be the cocky sniffing Duck fan in my life, and now you're like, I don't know about number one, man. I don't know about that.
The reality of my adult life as a Duck fan is essentially getting to a place every year during the regular season where we say, they could do it this year. This could be the year. Then you never know when the rug's going to get pulled out from underneath you. 34-0 last year in the Rose Bowl. I mean, look, it's one of the best wins of the season so far. I don't blame anybody for jumping on the bandwagon. Some people saw it coming sooner than others and were really high on Oregon coming into the year. Others had big question marks and wanted to focus on the other teams in the Big Ten. But you're going to get a lot of attention when you go on the road and win a game the way that they did. Lanning is a bit of a controversial. I don't know if controversial is the right word, but he's a lightning rod for opinions. He's a very charismatic guy in the post-game interviews, so it's going to lead to a lot of takes flying through.
Yeah, I heard him yesterday. He was on Bussin' with the Boys. You alerted me of this interview, and because he didn't have his Monday press conferences, they have the bye week.
Yeah. And
I was like, no Lanning audio. And you said, he's on with Bussin'. So I went and took a listen, and he was asked about the 1,000-cut throat kind of slash sign that he was on TV showing, and I thought it was funny. He's like, I didn't intend that to be on TV, but I should also just consider that everything's on television now. And
especially for him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's that kind of head coach.
Well, how many coaches... Who are your favorite coaches to pop up on TV in college football? Because he's in the conversation of most animated, emotional
without
coaches.
a doubt. They're very different, right? Like, I love seeing Lane Kiffin, but I feel like he's very different than Dan Lanning. Like, Lane
was pretty fired up this week.
He was.
That was a big win for him.
His jokes about Whit Weeks after the game about finding him to see if he cashed his over ticket. 2 weeks ago, Lane, their thing that they do on the sideline after turnovers is they have a basketball hoop on the sideline, and he was throwing alley-oops to his players, dunking on the sideline. So, like, everybody has a different kind of swagger to him and a different DNA. But he was definitely fired up. But those are two for me. Like, Lanning, when he does stuff like that, it gets you going as a Duck fan.
I find Sark boring.
Yes, incredibly boring.
I love seeing Kenny Dillingham. He'll show you some fired up emotion and passion in different moments. He'll make funny facial reactions.
Yeah.
You know what I also love? I don't think he does a lot. I love when Kirby Smart is just holding the edge of his mic, his headphones that he talks into to hear something from the ref. Right. There's something about Kirby Smart I like seeing on the TV.
Hollering about something. Yeah, Kirby's not a bad one. A lot of these guys, you got to just have a different level of fire and passion in order to get the job done.
But Lanning on with Bussin' the Boys, so he was asked about the final defensive play. Thieneman gets the interception to end it, and he walks you through what him and Taj Lapoy study and how they get prepared for that moment.
We'd hold them all game, but we felt like they found something. They found a place to get extra hats, and we didn't have a great answer. I just remember flipping over to defense and saying, "Hey, look, you guys got to come up with something to come out of this play." And we got let's look at our Rolodex. What do we have? What do we not run? And then we have to have a plan for the score route, which is the route they ran there at the very, very end. So we need something that stops both, right? And we ran a call we hadn't ran all game, but we had practiced for this game. We had created really for those two plays, and we've been talking about that route, all game, and hadn't seen it. And we get out there, and they give us a personnel that we're like, that's different than the personnel group we've ran this against in practice. But all right, let's give it a shot. And I thought Tosh, the defensive staff, did an unbelievable job of saying, no, we went through everything. This is the way that we can stop both plays. And they ran it, and Dylan makes an unbelievable interception. If he wasn't there, Aaron Flowers was right there to play cleanup. We had a pressure on the quarterback.
So I think if you were to observe that, one of your takeaways is you got to know how smart and ahead of the game these coaches need to be on a week-in, week-out basis. But the amount of intel and information and just seeing the alignment and having it go, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, for a defense that was leaking a lot of oil late in that game. They were dominant for 3.5 quarters, and then it didn't end great for him in the regulation.
Well, like, you wonder why the guy pops us in. It's like, well, he's trying to be ultra focused here and on top of everything at every possible second.
I just love the picture of like him going to the staff of like, dude, what do we got? What's in the Rolodex? We got to find something because all of a sudden they're scoring on us left and right.
He also talked about chasing ghosts.
I thought this was a really good answer.
Look at him going LeBron James on us here.
Well, it was basically the frame of the question was about James Franklin and how, this narrative about him not being able to win big games, and does that weigh on you as a coach? And I thought it was a really good answer and honesty from him.
Yeah, here it is.
For me, it'll be until we win the big one, right? That's they'll say the same thing about me. And what I think you figure out really quick as a head coach is like, who cares? Who cares what anybody else thinks? Like, you can't worry about the opinions of others. What you got to ask yourself is, did I learn every lesson I could have learned in that moment? Did I get better? Did I grow? Did I make sure our team was still growing, right, in every moment? And then the rest takes care of itself. It takes some luck to win a game. It takes some the ball's got to bounce the right way. Like, and if you can't acknowledge that, then you don't really know football. You haven't been a part of football, but you can, stack as many advantages as possible by the way you work, the way you prep, the way you grow. And like, that's what I was really excited about after this game. I told our staff yesterday, like, man, unbelievable effort by our players. Unbelievable job by you as coaches, but did you guys see this? Like, that's a wart. Like, we got to get this wart removed right now. Like, did you guys see this? Like, okay, we got to carry more answers for this in the future. So we were able to learn some really valuable lessons even in a win. So I think that's just part of it. And then you stack as many of those lessons as you can, and then you hope you stack enough that it removes the luck and the advantages that just happen within a game at times.
I think he's right on the whole, like, until they win a national championship, he's going to be one of these guys that people weirdly on the internet put into a box of, well, he can't win the big one, despite winning the Big Ten, despite beating Penn State at Penn State, beating Ohio State last year in the regular season.
There was a stat floating around that in the last however many games, he has as many top 5 wins against Penn State as James Franklin does his entire career at Penn State.
Well, I mean, like, his winning percentage should speak for itself, right? I think a lot of it comes from emotion and fandom. If we're having proper context here, we give coaches a lot of grief. I think he's so right of, I mean, it's a double overtime game. He just as easily, they could have made the play, and we could have not made the play. And
how about the play early in the game when the ball went through DeCorian Moore's hands and very easily could have been intercepted on a short field?
Exactly.
But somehow he ended up catching it, and it's an 8-yard gain. And you're like, that could have gone bad.
Defender catches it, but then it bounces off him, and then DeCorian catches it again. Yeah. It's like, those are little moments that you go, woo! And then you move on and the game happens. But like, those are moments that if it doesn't go that way, I don't know how the game ends. Like, that's how tight those kinds of games can be. Yeah. And so I think he's adding proper context, but I'd also turn and say, yes, but with James Franklin specifically, kind of no.
Yeah.
Like,
he's done this too many times.
It's not just the top 5 thing. It's not just the top 10 thing. He has a sub 500 record against top 25 teams. So, like, at some point,
it's not a fair analogy to compare the two right now.
Yeah, I think they're very different. Lanning has had those wins. He's had those pelts. He got something he can point to in his first 4 seasons. Franklin, it's like there's a lot of winning, but it's a lot of winning against Villanova.
Well, you think, too, of early in Lanning's career. Like, sans the 49-3 drubbing by Georgia, which was a brutal game to have to play in your first one as a head coach. All of the other losses were to, 1, good teams, and 2, they were games that, like, Oregon very easily could have won all of them. The first Washington game where they had the ball down inside the 10-yard line at Autzen the last time they lost at home, and Bo had the banged-up ankle and couldn't quite run, and then they went for it on 4th down with Ty Thompson, and they didn't get it. Like, they easily could have won that game, and the same thing goes for the Oregon State game that year where they had a 17-point lead, and then you use the first game in Seattle the next year in the regular season, or in the regular season when they had a lead and they just needed to convert a 3rd and short and a 4th and short, and they iced the game and they come out of that one victorious. Like, that's how small the margins were in those games, and they went against him. And the thought was, will he ever get over the hump? And that's one of the most encouraging things. Like, how long does it take for him to do it in the end of the season in the playoff? I don't know. Maybe it's this year. Maybe it's next year. Mm-hmm. Nobody has any clue. But the last 2 years, they've now flipped it to winning these games that they very easily could have lost. They very easily could have lost on Saturday night, and they very easily could have lost to Ohio State last year in the regular season. But they have found enough edges and little margin plays here or there to get them over the hump in 2 of the biggest regular season wins that they've had in a long time.
Well, I think the tough thing is, like, despite having some brutal losses, like, when you win those tight games over and over again, I don't know how much of that is just happenstance, guy making
luck
play
of
at
the
key
ball,
time,
yeah.
or it's just, well, if a guy keeps doing it, right? If Franklin keeps losing these close games, because most of them have been pretty close.
Yes, a lot of those top 5 losses are, one possession games.
It's not, I don't know, man. There's got to be a time limit on it just not being bad luck. It's just like you're not making the right decisions at the right times.
That's the difficulty that Penn State fans are going through right now of just what is it going to take to change this? Like how many in a row do you lose before this is just who you are and it's never going to happen?
I don't know about you. I know that they had those scores late, but like most of that game I'm watching, this offense isn't winning the national championship.
No, I tend to agree with
Georgia, a Bama, a Florida State, a Ohio State, fill in the blank and hold it, because maybe this is his Ryan Day season.
Very well could be.
I just you slow or stop that run game. I don't know, man.
It should have been easier said than done.
I was very unimpressed with most of what they were doing.
I mean, Franklin came out and said this is the best offensive line they've had in his entire time at Penn State, and then they have that level of performance, and everybody's like, well, wait a minute, where did that come from?
Either Oregon's defensive line is the best in the country, and that's the best test they'll face, or Oregon is representative of 4, 5, 6 other teams. Like, I think Miami's defense could be just as successful. I think despite losing, Georgia gave up some points, but then they really hunkered down in the second half.
Their issues more in the secondary, not so much in the front seven.
And so I just think you look around the sport and front sevens, like Oregon's might be the best, but also I think there's 5 or 6 other teams that just as easily could game plan to do exactly what Oregon did.
They're right in that spot where it's painful because you're better than 90% or 95% of teams, and you will beat those teams every time that you play them. But you cannot figure out the 5%.
You're judged against the 5%, not the 95%.
And until you get over the hump, it will feel like a disappointment for them.
So big win for Oregon and Dan Lanning on the road. We talked a lot about that yesterday, but he did an interview with Bussin' with the Boys. It's a good conversation. It's the only one I think he's done post the Penn State game. Will he talk to Isaac Suk this week, or is he off on that from a bye week?
Probably not for the bye week, because he's going recruiting this weekend. He's getting out of town, so I don't think they do any media obligations this week. He had some great stuff in there, though, for Duck fans on the going for 2. We didn't talk about that yesterday, of did you want him to go for 2 at the end of the first overtime to try and win the game? And he had a great line in there of I bet everybody yelling at us to go for 2. What happened when we went for 2? We threw a pick and damn near gave up 2 points the other way.
Yeah.
And I bet nobody was saying, why didn't you go for 2 in that spot?